Hello, and welcome back to Optometry Unleashed. I'm your host, Dr. Trevor Miranda. Today, we're in for a special treat as we discuss the ins and outs of navigating life as a university student in optometry school. Here to shed some light on this topic is someone with firsthand experience. She's a second-year student at NECO at the New England College of Optometry and currently serves on the American Optometric Student Association, empowering the next generation of optometry students and future doctors. She's also competed at high-level varsity field hockey, soccer, and is an amazing runner. I'm really excited, and it's a joy to introduce and welcome my daughter, Nyah Miranda, to Optometry Unleashed. Welcome, Nyah.
Thank you so much. You look a little familiar. Do I know you from somewhere?
Yes, it is. It's awesome to be actually get to chat with you because you're always so busy and on the run, and we had to formally make an appointment so we could have a chat, and I can record it and listen to it later when I miss you when you're out in Boston in school.
Oh gosh. I can just see mom listening to this episode. Oh, I miss Naya so much.
That's true. She'll listen to it over and over and over again.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
Nyah, we just want to talk about growing up, in an optometry family to some degree. When you were young, you didn't really want to be an optometrist. Can you tell us about that? What did you want to be when you were growing up, and what changed?
Yeah, so initially my dream was to be a cardiothoracic surgeon, which was quite ambitious. Little Naya had big dreams, but yeah, I grew up in an optometry household for sure. I remember a career day, my dad came to talk to my class about optometry. I don't know if I just wasn't really listening or just didn't really care, but I didn't fully understand what encompasses being an optometrist. I kind of had this preconceived notion that my dad just hid in a dark room all day, kind of like a vampire, and counted to two. I was like, that seems so boring. I could never do that. And I think probably the biggest shock of my dad's life was when I told him, hey, dad, I think I want to apply for optometry school. Am I wrong?
No, that was a real shock. I ruled it out fully. I think it was Grey's Anatomy, actually, that, Dr.
Yeah.
McDreamy, you were binge watching
Oh,
Grey's Anatomy
I
and you
love
wanted to
him.
become a cardiothoracic surgeon. I'm like, okay, there she goes. Because I know growing up, when you put your mind to something, you would just do it and get it done. So I just assumed you'd be going to med school and wasn't interested in optometry. It was pretty cool, though, when you came into the clinic to work as a student, as a summer job. Did that start changing your mind of what we did in optometry?
Yeah, frankly, I never thought about optometry as a career path until I started working at one of your clinics during the summer into college because I needed a summer job and just started working at the clinic. And then I discovered there's a whole medical aspect to optometry that I didn't really think of before. I mean, you always tell this to me, but the eyes are really a window to the status of your systemic health. And I thought it was so interesting how you can manage all these systemic diseases and diagnose them through your eyes. And also, I just really appreciated the one on one patient interaction and relationship that you build with your patients. And you're kind of the primary care doctor in a sense for their eyes. So you build these relationships with patients, you get to see them year after year. And I just really enjoyed my time working in your clinic. And I was your chairside assistant for a little bit. We definitely have some funny stories there. I was also a pre-test technician. And for anyone thinking about going into optometry school, all these roles are really great to get you immersed into the profession and give you a really good sense of what kind of career you could have afterwards. I mean, I definitely talked to a lot of optometrists in my dad's clinic and other optometrists in the community and through I Recommend about how they enjoyed their job and if they really liked it. And almost all the optometrists I talked to had nothing but good things to say about the profession. And that really speaks to how great of a career optometry is. When I look back and think about maybe one moment that inspired me to become an optometrist would be when a patient came in with a retinal detachment. And this was the last remaining eye that they had because they had a previous retinal detachment in the other eye, which left them blind. And I remember taking the opto photos as a pretest technician and then coming into chairside for the optometrist. And we were able to send this patient to the ophthalmologist to get the laser procedure done to save their vision in their last remaining eye. And even though I didn't really play much of a role, I took the image and I felt like I guess I was able to play a small role in helping preserve this patient's vision. I felt wonderful, and I felt maybe if I were to able to pursue this career path, I could help save people's vision in the future.
Yeah, I think it's great, Nyah. If you're interested in optometry, and know we have some current students in our clinic that are chair side that because they want to be an optometrist. And I think that's a great way to learn and experience that interaction with the doctor and the patient. You really get to feel,
Yeah.
the profession a little bit. I know when you were on my chair side, I I took advantage of you being my daughter. I remember demonstrating hypochlorous spray, and I just sprayed you all over your face, and that really freaked out the patient.
Oh gosh. No, you have to explain this a little bit more, but basically you don't go in telling the patient that your chairside assistant is your daughter, right? So I'm just over here typing and the patient was a little bit skeptical on how safe the hypochlorous spray is. And Trevor just takes the bottle and I was like, "Oh, look, it's really safe. Like, Nyah, come here." Just douses me in hypochlorous spray. And I did not know this was coming. We have never done this before. And hypochlorous spray is just dripping down my face. You're supposed to do maybe one spray, two sprays, not like a half a bottle, Dad.
I got carried away. It was like back to
Yeah,
the old
you love hypochlorous spray that much. But the lady's like, "Oh my gosh, like he can't do that to you." Like, and I was like, "No, no, it's fine." And then Trevor's like, "Yeah, she's my daughter. We're good. We're good." And the lady's
Yeah.
like, "Oh,
Yeah.
okay."
There was a lot of times where you kind of pretended not to be my daughter when you were in the clinic, which is a little bit odd, I guess.
You know what? I didn't want any special treatment. Being the boss's daughter, I always wanted to work extra hard and do all that I could to help contribute to couch and eye care and help out. I never wanted that to be my thing, the boss's daughter. I was my own person and I've always been that and very determined to carve my own path, especially even in the clinic.
Yeah, it's neat. It's neat. Everybody starts, at the beginning. And, my beginning was just one office and one staff. And now we've got 5 clinics and 55 staff. So you sort of evolve as you learn and grow. And now, almost wearing the CEO hat at Couch and Eye Care. So it's interesting the evolution in the profession. That's part of the cool part is you can learn as a student and then evolve into the practitioner and then evolve into running your own team if that's what you so choose. So it's pretty
For
exciting
sure.
options in optometry. We're just going to take a brief break and hear from our sponsor. I want to take a moment to say thank you to Hoya Vision Canada, our sponsor for this episode. Hoya empowers eye care professionals to achieve their business goals through comprehensive training and regular business reviews. Super High Vision Mirio EX4 is the latest innovative anti-reflection coating that has set new industry standards for clarity and durability. Also, their award-winning myopia management lens, MyoSmart, has sold over 4 million lenses worldwide. To learn more, contact your local Hoya territory manager today and elevate your practice. And now, back to our conversation with Nyah Miranda.
I have a question for you. So, a lot of optometrists, they admire the relationship I have with my dad, and they always ask me, "Oh, how did you become interested in optometry? What did your dad do to make you guys work so well together?" And I forward that question to you. I'm wondering if you have any tips for all the optometrists who want their kids to go into optometry.
Yeah, I get that a lot too. You must be so proud that your daughter's, going to be an optometrist, and I am super proud of you. And like we chatted about, it wasn't really a hope at all. I just assumed you were not being an optometrist because of all the teasing I took of working in the dark and only having to count to 2. My advice would be just let it happen. Don't construct the future. Is just let your child come to their moment of wanting to pursue what they want to pursue. If it's optometry, that's great. If it's not optometry, that's great too. just being exposed to the clinic environment, I think is important. I think a lot of people don't understand what optometry does and is, and it's not just refracting anymore. It's about wellness and it's about the future of your vision. I think that's the cool part is when you talk to your patients and you say, hey, it's just not about seeing well today. I want you to see well your whole life. And I want your vision to outlast you is sort of some of the things I say to my patient. As you see that and that joy, I've hardly met an optometrist that isn't really thrilled about the profession and about their job and are good people and fun to be around. In some other professions, you're like, you look stressed and you're tired and you don't love your job. But optometrists generally are fun, love their job. And I think you get that sense of it's a great career path for you.
Yeah, it's also a great community to be a part of. I'm only just an optometry student, but I feel like all the doctors and the other industry workers in optometry have all been so welcoming and supportive. They champion my success as if it's their own because every great optometry student that we welcome into the profession is just a win for everyone in general and helps us propel the profession forward. So I just feel so lucky to be a part of this community. And I do have a little bit of a funny story. I remember at one of the conferences that you and I went to, I was talking to one of the workers and they said that optometrists party the most out of all the healthcare professions. So I don't know what it is about optometrists, but they're really nice people and they like to have a good time. So I'll just leave it there, I guess.
Yeah, well, you were meant to be in this profession then, Nyah. I know you can party. I mean, it's who can party more, you or I, is a good question, and I know we've put that to the test a number of times already. So early in your career,
Hey,
but well,
you know what
maybe
they say, like father, like daughter.
that's absolutely those are good times. You're right. The conferences are good times, but
Good
that's for
times.
another podcast, perhaps.
Yeah, that's optometry after dark.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%. So Nyah, I want to talk a little bit about your student life. You're still a student, but you started at the University of Guelph, also a school I went to, and before I went to Waterloo School of Optometry, and then you chose Boston at NECO at the New England College of Optometry there. And what would you describe your university experience so far from undergrad to optometry school? What are some of the differences, and what did you take at Guelph?
Yeah. So to give the listeners a little bit of context, I went to the University of Guelph in Ontario, Canada, and I did a degree in biomedical sciences, and I was also a varsity field hockey athlete. And I went to school during COVID times as well. So COVID happened in the middle of my university career, which definitely took a toll on the experience and made it a little bit different. And it was forever changed school in general after that. As my dad was saying, he was a University of Guelph alumni. So that was one of the reasons why I even heard of the school initially. I actually went there for field hockey. I was recruited by the coach. So that was why I went to the school initially. And I heard there was a really good biomed program. Everyone at Guelph is kind of interested in vet school. So I thought it would be a little bit less competitive if I wanted to do med school or something in the healthcare field because I didn't want to be a vet. I just heard it was like a really great school community. And I wanted to get off Vancouver Island and gain a little bit of independence. And I thought it would be a really great school for me.
Yeah, I know if you don't want to be an optometrist or you're not sure you want to go to optometry school, there's certain prerequisites you need to take. So you have to be aware as early as possible to get those. What would be some of those courses that you took in undergrad that you'd need for optometry school?
So the biomedical science degree at Guelph is really good because it opens up a lot of doors, not just med school. I have some friends who had to actually go back and retake courses because they did health sciences at a different university. It was just super specifically tailored for med school, whereas I was appreciative that biomed at Guelph kind of kept all the doors open. But certain courses I would definitely recommend to take in your first couple years if you're interested in optometry or med school would be calculus, physics, organic chemistry, biochemistry, microbiology, anatomy. Those courses really helped me be successful in my first year of optometry school because I felt like the education was so good at Guelph that it definitely put me ahead in first year, especially anatomy because the school is a really big anatomy and physiology school.
Yeah, I get PTSD just hearing those subject names, to be honest. I
I
mean,
mean, me too. Calculus was not my strong suit. I'm kind of the anomaly in my family because everyone seems to be really good at math, and math is one of the subjects I've always had to work harder on. And I remember I didn't really get the best grade in first year calculus, and I kind of thought my life was over at that point. I got like a C or something like that, and I was like, how am I going to get into any school with this grade? And I was feeling really sad, but I would encourage any students with a couple bad grades in their first year to really think about schools look at your growth as an academic, not necessarily just a specific course. I really thought calculus would hold me back from applying to optometry school, but I applied with kind of a lower calc grade and was able to get into all the schools that I applied to. So don't let one course hold you back. And there's always, you know, exceptions, or they kind of look at the growth, the overall growth.
yeah. How did you turn that around, Nia, from a C to, and you're used to getting high marks. So it's a little bit of an ego shot, right? When you don't achieve those 95s, especially out of the gate in the first year of university. So how did you turn it around? How did you cope with that?
I was a really high achiever in high school. I was used to getting top of my class. And then I came to college, or undergrad, as they call it in Canada. I came to undergrad and I realized that everyone here was pretty smart. And it was just like a different way of learning that I hadn't really adapted to yet. I was also really busy with field hockey and a little bit homesick, living across the country in a new province, away from my family and friends. So there was a lot going on. I was a little bit overwhelmed, and I didn't perform as well academically in my first year as I knew I was capable of. I also just didn't know how to get help in college because there's so many students and you have to really advocate for yourself. Didn't really understand or know I had to do that. I just started believing in myself, and I tried to just brush away the imposter syndrome that I felt in undergrad, and I still feel to this day. It's something I'm constantly working on, but I just believed in myself, worked hard, and utilized my resources a lot better.
Yeah, I've had a few pep talk chats now and again to just believe that it's going to be
Yes.
successful and don't catastrophize the future. I think if you can
Yeah.
kind of manifest the positivity, then it'll often come true, really. And
Hey,
what
not the toxic positivity.
not it's
Hey,
just
I always
positivity.
joke that my dad is probably the most positive person I've ever met, which is so great when you're feeling down and a little bit self-conscious, you need a boost. Shout out to my roommate Heather at optometry school, but I told her that my dad gives me the best pep talks ever. So I've started hitting up my dad and was like, Dad, we have a test coming up. Can you please give Heather and I a pep talk? So he'll give us these amazing pep talks that get us super motivated. And that's kind of what I want this episode to be about. So we'll just call this a Trevor pep talk. How about that?
This is like a therapy session for the both of us. So this is
This is,
fantastic.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Is there any apps, Naya, or resources as a student that you've now incorporated into your regimen, into your preparation routine for optometry?
I think Notability has been a holy grail app that I've utilized in optometry school. It's basically an annotation app. And what I have been doing that's really worked well for me is I'll download my PowerPoints onto my iPad. Basically, everyone in optometry school is an iPad kid now. It's pretty funny. So I'll download my lectures onto my iPad, and during class, I'll actively annotate on my lecture slides, and then I'll go back and make a review sheet for the class. And this method has seemed to be working really well for me. I remember you also gave me the advice to look ahead of my notes before class, and that's also been helpful. But I think Notability is a good way to continue that active learning in class. I also use Quizlet for rote memorization, but as I progress in optometry school, I've realized there's a lot less rote memorization. It's more so a generalized understanding for everything. So if you don't really understand how things work in the big picture, you're not going to do very well.
Yeah, you talked about being a varsity athlete in field hockey, and that's quite a time commitment, Naya. And what are some of the lessons you learned personally or professionally that you got from playing field hockey while at university, trying to juggle that time commitment?
Oh gosh, yeah, I definitely have a little bit of PTSD from those early morning 5:30 a.m. practices in the freezing cold weather in Ontario in November. Um, but yeah, I played varsity field hockey for 4 years, and it definitely took up a huge portion of my life and was a big time commitment. But I've always been like a really committed person, and I knew I wanted to stick it out with field hockey for all my 4 years, even though it was challenging for sure. I played provincially in soccer and I was always a really good soccer player. And then when I kind of gave up soccer in high school, I switched to field hockey because my high school was really big on field hockey. And I was a pretty good field hockey player, but I wasn't the best in the province, so to speak. So when I came to play at Guelph, I definitely rode the bench a little bit in first year. And I didn't even realize how good Guelph was at field hockey. In my second year, we actually won the OUA championships and went to nationals. So we were a pretty big deal. We were a good team. This was totally new for me. And again, this kind of took a stab at my self confidence because I was like, I suck. Like, I was used to being the captain of all my teams and being one of the best players on the field. But I just had to shift my mindset and really cheer for my teammates and be a good teammate. I could be supportive of my teammates and be happy for their successes because that's my success too. Like I was a part of this team. I was involved in the practices. I was even put in once in a while in first year. Definitely didn't play that much, but this kind of inspired me to work harder and commit more time to the program. I trained on my own, did a lot of workouts, strength training, did summer camps for field hockey. I wanted to get better. And naturally, I progressed and became a better player. I saw the field better, became more skilled, and was able to become a starter in my third and fourth year. But this definitely wouldn't have happened if I had quit in first year, being embarrassed riding the bench, right? So it's all about being committed and being determined to work hard. And these skills I've definitely taken with me in optometry school today.
Yeah, that's great. When you're talking about that, it reminds me of just our clinic and how it's every job's important and being part of the team to achieve that great experience for each patient. It takes every player. You might not be the doctor and you might not be the optician, but you can play a role and you need to be proud of that. And you can constantly be evolving, learning and understanding your role so you can do more and more and grow in your offices. So it's really cool to have that kind of culture where you cheer for each other and work together to be better all the time. So that's really neat that you had that experience while you're also being trained academically. So good for you. What are some of your mentors that or individuals that impacted your journey in optometry? I'm super thankful to all of my colleagues that have really embraced you, Nyah, as the next generation and offered mentorship. What are some of those mentors and areas that you're excited about?
Yeah, so there's definitely a few people that stick out for me that have been really supportive of my journey so far. First one, I'd say Dr. Sunny Bular. He kind of labeled me, he said I'm his mentee, and he's a fellow NECO alumni and a successful multi-practice business owner. Definitely someone I look up to a lot. And he gave me some great advice going into NECO, told me to join the AOSA, the American Optometry Student Association, because he was a part of that. He gives me really authentic and real advice, which I appreciate. And he told me to have fun, network, kind of make the most of my optometry career because these will be some of the best years of my life. And Dr. Bular really knows how to have a good time. So I took his word for it. He's definitely one of my mentors. Another person I look up to a little bit younger would be Dr. Alexa Heck. She is a recent graduate from the University of Waterloo. She's now working in Toronto, and we've kind of become friends, meeting up at the conferences. Now, every time I go to Toronto, I'll meet up with Alexa. She's a great role model in my life and also a friend now. And she's really big on social media, and she's taught me how to utilize my social media platform to educate my patients, make connections with other doctors, and to inspire future optometry students.
Yeah, that's great. I think it's incumbent on all of us, regardless of where we're at. Like you're mentoring some of the first year students when you're in second year optometry, and I'm mentoring some newer doctors that are just graduating, and even some that are just started their practices. So I think it's a great opportunity to share in our profession about that. Tell me a little bit about AOSA and chaos, which is the Canadian Association of Optometric Students, and how's that good for students? What are you doing there to help that student population in optometry?
Mhm. So the AOSA is the American Optometry Student Association, and our mission statement is to empower students to thrive as doctors of optometry. And this is really broad, but we have several different subcommittees within the board of trustees in the AOSA. And my subcommittee is student experience. So I am tasked with surveying students about how we can improve the optometry experience and build community. And I also help plan some fun events. We had a nationwide trivia night, which was really fun, and a yoga and mindfulness night coming up. We helped plan optometry's meeting in Washington, D.C. last year, and are working on planning optometry's meeting upcoming this year in Nashville. So we kind of help plan those events. And being part of the AOSA has been an awesome experience to be able to connect with optometry students from across the US and Canada. I've been able to make so many friends, and it has helped me become more involved in the optometry community at NECO. I joined the AOSA and ran for trustee elect at the end of my first year. And I didn't really get involved into too much starting out in optometry school because I wasn't really sure if I can handle it. I didn't want to throw myself into anything that I couldn't give 100% of my effort to. So I waited a little bit and I learned more about the AOSA, and Dr. Bular had great things to say about the AOSA too. You also get to travel, which is a really cool perk. I'm going to Nashville for an in-person board meeting at the end of January, actually, which will be really great to meet up with all my new friends and discuss how the AOSA, the different schools, can become better and share different ideas, and also work on planning optometry's meetings. So there's a lot of really exciting things coming up for the AOSA. And I feel a lot more connected to my school community as a result of being a part of something like this. So yeah, that's the AOSA. And to speak on chaos a little bit, it's the Canadian Association of Optometry Students. All these acronyms get a little bit confusing, but we'll just get that out of the way. Chaos has also been a great experience for me. I've loved being a part of Chaos. I've met a ton of great Canadian optometry students at NECO. We actually have a really big Canadian population at my school. It's about 35% Canadian in my class of 2026 alone, which is a lot of Canadians. Basically, in lab, we'll be doing VAs and you hear Z or sorry being thrown around every couple minutes. So there's a lot of Canadians at the school. I am the social media and marketing coordinator for Chaos, which social media has always been kind of a little passion project of mine. I have a knack for it and quite enjoy it. And that's been awesome to meet the doctors that have come to NECO from Canada to talk about the different work opportunities. I remember I Recommend came to talk to us, and my dad came to speak, which was so exciting for all my friends to meet my dad and hear a little bit more about owning your own practice in Canada, which has been really great.
Yeah, sounds like you're having fun. I think that fun gene must be genetic because I was the I was a social coordinator for my class too, Nyah. So that's why we enjoy those parties for sure. So pretty
For
excited
sure.
for you for the future. Nyah, we're gonna switch gears here a little bit, and we're gonna do this or that. In this case, it's Trevor or Nyah. I'm gonna ask you a series of questions. You get to pick Trevor or Nyah if you can pick. Okay.
Okay.
So who has the better taste in music?
This is a tough one, but I would have to go with myself. And I actually think I inspire your music taste a little bit. I think I introduced you to your favorite rapper, J. Cole, if I'm not mistaken. And also Morgan Wallen. When my dad came to visit me in Boston, we went to a Morgan Wallen concert in Fenway Park. And that was probably one of my biggest highlights of 2023. I'd have to go with myself, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
I'd have to go with you too, Naya, but I do like your taste in music, which has influenced my taste in music. Actually, Morgan Wallen's probably one of my favorite artists to listen to in the car now. So it's a little bit more chill than some of that J. Cole stuff.
You're so trendy, Dad.
Yeah, thanks. I got a trendy daughter, so that helps a lot, actually.
I'll
Um,
keep you young.
thank you. I appreciate that. That's my goal, actually. Who tells the best jokes, Naya?
I'm gonna have to go with you on this. I think I mean, don't don't let this inflate your ego too much. I think you are quite funny. A lot of my friends tell me I'm sneaky funny, so they wouldn't expect me to be funny. I'm pretty sarcastic and a lot of stuff I say goes over their heads. But when they think about it, they're like, "Oh, that's kind of funny," and I. But I think you definitely have that outright laugh factor going for you.
Okay. Who would plan a better family vacation, you or I?
This one conditionally me until something goes wrong and disaster strikes. And then I'm not the best in kind of a stressful emergency situation. I remember when we were in Hawaii and there was the Japan tsunami and I basically blacked out. So I'm not really good in the emergency situations, but I
Yeah,
think if everything goes perfectly as planned, I'm great.
I think we need to explain that story a little bit more. It was the tsunami, the sirens were going off, and I kept looking outside. I thought my car alarm was going off, but this was an evacuation because we were in the tsunami zone, so we had to evacuate to higher ground. And I'd say, Naya, wake up, and you're like, I'm sleeping, Dad, leave me alone. And I'd say, Naya, wake up, and you go, what? I said, there's been an earthquake and there's a tsunami, and then immediately you jumped up and you started sprinting out the door. We didn't have everybody awake. You were just like you were gone. You're
Yeah.
gone to higher
I
ground.
was so upset. I was like, Mom, what are you doing? Let's get in the car. Everyone, hurry up. We're going to die. I
Yeah.
mean, talk about catastrophizing the future. That was a few years ago. I've gotten better and I've become more adaptable. And I think it's important to be able to adapt in optometry too. So I'm a lot more zen now. Don't worry.
Naya, who has the better dance moves?
Oh, I gotta give this to you. I mean, when we were dancing during Transitions Academy, you had this weird like hand move, dance move. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but I can't even do that. So I'm gonna have to give that to you.
Oh wow, that's good. And one last one. Who would win a debate, Naya? Who would win a debate?
I think it would be a close call. We definitely like to have some debates in our family over the dinner table. I don't know. Let's leave that up to our listeners to decide.
I like that. That's very diplomatic. Naya, what do you do to sort of maintain a balance between studies and personal life? What activities do you do to unwind and recharge right now?
Yeah, so I really think self-care is important, especially in optometry school. I know a lot of my classmates experienced burnout this year, especially because our last semester was so challenging and so demanding academically. I like to go for runs when I'm feeling stressed out and need some fresh air. Going for a run has always been a type of therapy for me and helped me relax. And it's also great to get a workout in as well. I like to hang out with my friends on the weekends. I feel like laughter is one of the best medicines. I have a great group of friends in optometry school, and it's awesome to be able to share experiences and kind of know what each other are going through and support each other. So I try to do something fun with my friends on the weekends. I like to read, I like to relax, bake with my roommates and yeah, have a good time. I like to prioritize having fun too. I don't want to look back on my 4 years in optometry school and think, wow, that sucked. Like I was so stressed out all the time. And something you've taught me too is just really shifting my mindset. I am a lot less stressed in optometry school than I was in college because I think about this time is a time that I can work on being the best optometrist. And it's not so much, oh my gosh, I got to get a 99% in this and do this, do this. My mindset's just totally different now. And I'm really just enjoying the ride. And I'm so grateful to be able to attend NECO because it's such a privilege to be able to continue my education like this. And I'm, becoming a part of a great profession. And I'm just really grateful to be here. So I'm just enjoying the experience. And honestly, these have been the best couple years of my life so far.
That's great. You know, it's so interesting in optometry. You have a patient and you have to pay attention to that patient. You have to be present with that patient and you move on to the next patient. And I think if you compartmentalize that, or even including in optometry or in everything that we do, being present and having a conversation with you right now or wherever I am, being present there, it is a good habit to have. I think you're in a lecture, be present. You're in clinic, be present there and don't be thinking about other things.
Yeah, that's definitely a skill you have to learn as an optometrist, especially going from one exam room to the next. You basically have to learn someone's life story every 30 minutes, right? And you have to be fully attentive to them to give them the best care. So I can learn these skills and practice these in optometry school.
Yeah, no, this might be a generational thing, but one of my guests, Simon T. Bailey, was saying, "Hey, be ready, be innovation ready instead of work ready. Understand the top skills that you need." And what would you say are some of the strengths and qualities that distinguish your generation of optometry students from my generation, perhaps, that will bring more value to the clinic?
Think my generation of optometry students, I mean, I'm going to give you a pro and a con. Okay. So I think the pro is that we're really skilled with technology because we grew up in the age of the iPhone and the iPad. And I think technology comes secondhand to us. So being so adaptive with new technologies will definitely be beneficial for the profession of optometry so we can continue to propel the profession forward and embrace technology and not kind of oppose it, because I think some more experienced optometrists may be comfortable in their set ways and not really wanting to adapt to the new technology, which can be detrimental to the profession. And if we do this, we're just going to let technology take over. So I think we have to embrace technology and learn how to utilize it to best serve our patients. And I think my generation will be really good at embracing this. And then maybe something else about my generation is that we really prioritize self-care and setting boundaries. My dad likes to say we're a little soft, and I don't think that's true. I just think we really prioritize mental health and wellness, and we want to take time for ourselves and be able to rest. And I think this is important too, because if you're not your best self, you're not going to be able to serve your patients the best. So there's my answer.
Yeah, I'm still working Saturdays, Naya. I don't know if I'm paying for tuition or what, but yeah, yeah, I'm
Hey, I
hoping that
told you it could be a pro or a con, right?
that's true. That's true. No, it is good to take care of yourself for sure. What advice would you give to students who are considering entering optometry school?
Yeah, so I think any student interested in working in the healthcare field, I would advise you to keep all your doors open, because you may not even realize something as niche as optometry school is out there. So definitely keep all your doors open, take all the prerequisites. And then if you're specifically interested in optometry, I would recommend shadowing with an optometrist. And even better, if you can work at an optometry clinic over the summer as a summer job, that will give you a great insight into what being an optometrist will be like and give you a better idea of what optometrists actually do. If you can be a chairside assistant like I was, you can actually see the interaction between the doctor and the patient, which is just so different than what I was expecting and so much more involved. And this is where I really became inspired to become an optometrist. I was inspired at the relationship between the optometrist and the patient, how the optometrist guides the patient through all these tests and pieces together the puzzle. You're kind of like solving a mystery and figuring out what will work best with this patient based on their lifestyle, their particular needs, how compliant they will be. All these factors really interested me, and each case is so different. Like, you're never going to be bored, and I think that is awesome. So shadow an optometrist. Go on the I recommend website and look at what optometry clinics are in your area and see if you can shadow an optometrist. I'm sure any optometrist that you reach out to will be happy to have you shadow them or at least talk to you about the profession and ask for their honest opinion. Don't get them to sugarcoat anything. Get them to tell you if they really like their career or not, like the best and the worst parts about being an optometrist.
Yeah, excellent advice, Naya. There's a lot of older practitioners, more, let's call them seasoned doctors like myself, that are looking for new grads to join their practice and maybe work the odd Saturday. What advice would you give to those practice owners that are looking to attract an associate new grad to their clinic? What should we be doing to get ready to be attractive to new doctors like you just entering the profession?
I think for new grads, when you're trying to advertise your position at your clinic, you're selling the experience. You're not just selling a job specifically. So you're going to have to sell the community that your office is located in. Like, for example, in the Cowichan Valley, a great community, a great place to raise a family, super outdoorsy, all these other benefits you will get working in this community, and maybe some perks as well. Like, is there going to be cheap accommodation? Are you going to be providing accommodation for this doctor? Is there affordable housing? Is this a great community for young people to be in? Is there potential for ownership one day? Like, what's the future going to look like for this young optometrist to work there? Is there a chance to buy in? Is there a chance to bring your specialty to the clinic? For example, if you're really interested in scleral contact lenses, can you bring this to the clinic, and will the clinic adapt with you as you bring in these new technologies?
Yeah, that's good advice. We've hired a director of wellness and experience, and her job is to make sure that we're very attractive to new grads, and we'll do anything that we need to do, help them find accommodation, get a mountain bike, whatever it takes, to attract those young optometrists to our practices. And I think understanding your business really well, so you can explain to a doctor their compensation, what are the expectation of how many patients they're going to see, and what are some of the subspecialties you have to offer, some of the new technologies you have to offer in your practice. Because I know, talking to Howard Purcell, the president of your school, NECO, he's just so excited about those new technologies and making sure that you're all trained on that when you graduate. So what do you think, Nyah, some of the new technologies in optometry? What's getting you excited? Dr. Mila Yusufova talked about the microbiome in the gut and that relationship it has with your eyes. What gets you excited about what's coming down the pipe in optometry?
Yeah, I'm only in second year, so I'm still learning about all these new technologies that we have in optometry. But I think something that I'm particularly interested in is the aesthetic side of optometry. I mean, this is super new to the profession, but kind of the interface between taking care of your skin and taking care of your eyes, and dry eye and RF and all those things are really cool and exciting. I mean, I don't know too much about it yet, but I'm excited to learn more about that. And I hope they'll teach us about the aesthetic side of optometry in school.
Yeah, I think you will learn more about that. Now, you mentioned RF, and that's radio frequency. Then that's a cool treatment for dry eyes. But the spin-off effect is it tightens the collagen around your face, so it's almost like a photofacial, or improves the fine lines and wrinkles, as well as helping your dry eye. So one of our technicians, Alicia, just went through a course on aesthetics over the break here. So I think you're going to see more of that, and also, cosmetics that are healthier for your eyes and your skin, as opposed to being toxic to the meibomian glands and the ocular surface. And instead of causing dry eye, maybe they can help alleviate some of that, or reduce the toxicity aspect of those chemicals that are in makeup.
I do also have to add, my favorite class right now in school is contact lenses. So I am also kind of interested in learning more about the specialty contact lenses, and I'm taking contact lens two this spring. This is my upcoming semester. So that's probably my favorite class so far. I'm excited to learn more.
Yeah, it's so neat. And I know, talking to some students, when they impact a patient with a contact lens technology, for instance, a keratoconic patient. And for those listening that don't know, what keratoconic patients are, patients that have thinning corneas, and generally you can't correct them with glasses anymore, and you need a specialty type of contact lens, a more rigid or scleral contact lens that can help with that, and restore their vision. It's pretty exciting to allow them to be able to see better again. And that's one of the cool parts of our profession, I, is actually impacting somebody's vision. It's hard to quantify that or compare that to anything else. When you improve somebody's vision, it can be so dramatic and life-changing in a way. And I know some of the opportunities abroad that I've been on, and I want to take you on, where you help those in developing countries that don't have access to eye care or eyewear, and you help them see for the first time, and maybe needed glasses their whole life, and when they suddenly can see, it's a really a heartwarming experience. But it really brings you back to your own clinic and realizing every single patient that you improve their vision is really a game changer too.
And how cool is it that there's so many different avenues in optometry that you can pursue, whether that's a vision therapy, contact lens, dry eye, myopia management, macular degeneration, and glaucoma. There's just so many different things that you can do in this profession. I think that's one of the things that drew me to optometry. You never really will get bored, and there's something out there for everyone. I mean, I know for me, I don't think vision therapy is going to be my calling because binocular vision and ocular motility was my least favorite class, but some of my classmates, that's their bread and butter. They love that stuff. So I think that's cool too.
And that's cool about having a group practice now too. Like, we've got 10 of my colleagues in our team, and I can refer to the vision therapy clinic, or I can refer for specialty contact lenses, and I can do the dry eye patients myself. So those referrals inside the clinics are really cool. I know some of the students I've talked to are thinking about a cold start or branching off a business venture. Do you hear that much? I know when I graduated in 1995 from University of Waterloo, a lot of my colleagues wanted to start their practice, and they did, and successfully so. Now they're on the sort of the later years looking to transition to the next generation. What are your thoughts on cold starting, just starting from scratch, as I did? All 5 of our clinics are cold starts, as you know. What are your thoughts that you're hearing out there from your peers?
Maybe you can speak on this a little bit more, but a lot of my classmates kind of talk about how the market is a little oversaturated right now. So, kind of gone are the days where you can just move somewhere and open up a cold start clinic because there's a lot of clinics already out there. I think the new mindset is to buy into practices or take over a practice from a retiring optometrist because a lot of people will be retiring in the next coming years. You do hear some people that want to open up a cold start. I think for me, I would look for a clinic with an optometrist that's maybe retiring, and then eventually you can change the clinic how you would like it to be. But I think maybe gone are the days starting fresh. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's a good point. It's a cash flow situation. If you're going to cold start, you're going to lose money for a couple of years. And now with all the technology and investment in technology, if you don't have a steady patient flow and a steady cash flow, you can't afford to pay your equipment, and you can't afford to live at the same time. So some of those partners that they're married potentially in both in optometry, they can maybe start one practice and the other one's working as an associate somewhere else. But I think there's a great opportunity to buy and improve practices, take them to the next generation. So I think that's an important aspect when you're going out to get your first job, is to ask, what are the options for transitions? What are the terms of buying in or buying out the principal owners? And I think if you know that going in, and I think those are fair questions to ask, is what's the plan and transition plan? And you might be just wanting to learn right now, but it's good to know and ask those questions just in case you want to buy in and you love the town that you've started your first clinic experience in, and you want to buy in later. It's good to know the terms, because I find that sometimes that becomes a bit of point of friction because it wasn't explained. And I think if is there an ability from a cash flow perspective to purchase a practice while still making a good living, it's a great opportunity once you know that that's where you want to basically live the rest of your life.
Yeah, I'd love to throw a question back at you. This is kind of a debate I have with a lot of my friends and classmates. And we kind of talk about, is it more important in this day and age to have a specialty as an optometrist? For example, at NECO, we have different concentrations that you can do. There's a pediatrics, a contact lens, and a low vision concentration. And this is before residency. And then if you want to further your education after optometry school, you can do a 1 year residency in a particular topic, such as ocular disease or myopia management or specialty contact lenses. There's really a plethora of different options for students. I think for me right now, I like a little bit of everything. So primary care is definitely something I'm interested in. But do you think you should still have a specialty as a primary care optometrist? And do you think this is more valued in the US versus Canada?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's hard to know what to specialize in when you're still learning the basic principles of being a generalist. And I think, starting to understand how to care for all kinds of patients is important. And then following your passion, what most interests you, and then deep diving in that, whether that's a residency program or that's further education while you're in practice by taking courses or by actually mentoring in a clinic that's already doing that with a more veteran doctor that has expertise that can train you and teach you and co-manage those patients as well. So Nyah, I just wanted to pivot a little bit and talk about social media or other platforms being leveraged to engage with people about eye healthcare. And I'm out there in the podcast game now because I wanted to get my message out from what I've learned, actually. And I see a lot of younger optometry graduates and even students educating the public on that. What are your thoughts on that?
I think you have to be careful utilizing social media as a professional. I think, there's a tasteful way to do social media and optometry. And I also think it can be overdone and too much. So, utilizing your social media platforms to educate your patients is a really valuable resource. I think always emphasizing for particular cases, you should go to your optometrist to get these questions answered. But doing Q&As and mythbusters and advertising your essays and different pieces of work articles is always great. It's also a great platform for connecting with other optometrists, other optometry students. I know for me, I started a professional optometry account just because I wanted to keep this part of my life separate from my personal, Instagram and TikTok and Facebook, etc. So I started Nyahs.eyes. You can follow me on there. But I think right now, my biggest thing has been speaking to pre-optometry students about how they can get into optometry school and kind of giving back in that way. Because I feel like a lot of people helped me on my journey to becoming an optometry student and helping me out, writing me reference letters, advising me on different schools. So I wanted to be able to share some of my knowledge with the next generation of optometry students. And that's kind of how I've been utilizing my platform. I never wanted my platform to come across as, narcissistic. So I try to incorporate education, such as what I'm learning in optometry school and some of the cool experiences I do, like traveling with the AOSA and making vlogs about that. I think there's a limit for the social media, but I think it's also a great tool too. My friend, Dr. Alexa Hecht, she's really big on TikTok and she was actually on Good Morning America educating patients and the public on dry eye disease. So there's just like no limit to what you can do and what you can accomplish on social media. And I think if your goal is to just be an optometry influencer, I think that's kind of looked down upon. So just be careful with how you utilize social media, but I think it can be a wonderful tool.
Yeah, thanks for that, Nyah. In your opinion, what qualities make an outstanding optometrist, and how do you strive to embody those traits in your work?
I remember you telling me that being an optometrist makes you a better person. I didn't really believe that until I started working in a clinic and working with patients and just being really personable and being able to relate to your patients is one of the greatest skills an optometrist can possess. I think being able to put yourself in the patient's shoes and really treat the patient how you would want to be treated will help you deliver the best care to that patient. So being super personable, I think you also have to be quite diligent and hardworking. I didn't realize how challenging optometry school was going to be, honestly. It's it's quite challenging and you have to be committed and work hard. But I think this is, another way to ensure that the people coming into this profession are really intelligent and quick-witted and smart because school is really hard. So you have to be, those things as well. And I think you don't necessarily have to be extroverted to be an optometrist. Optometry welcomes a whole bunch of personality types as well. I'd say you're probably dad more on the extroverted side of things, but maybe some of the other optometrists at your clinic are more introverted. And there is a place for everyone. So I don't necessarily think you have to have a certain personality type, but just be a good, caring person. And I think the skills will come. Definitely, foundationally, you have to be a good, caring person and want the best for your patients.
That's great advice, Nyah. my thoughts are making sure that you trust your gut instincts in a lot of ways when you're with the patient. You're listening to the patient because they often will tell you what's wrong. And then, making sure, I know Simon T. Bailey mentioned that, being aware of what the feeling is that's going on to make those diagnoses for those tricky cases. And the cool thing about a group practice is you can share those in real time. You can get some advice from your colleagues, whether they're in that location or not, with all the technology we have of sharing tough cases. So, Nyah, what impact would you like to make as a doctor of optometry?
I'd say right now, I hope to make a positive change in my community, wherever I end up working, to be able to better serve the public and help preserve people's vision would be probably the biggest honor of my life. I also hope one day that I can go on a third world eye care trip and give back to the less fortunate and be able to provide eye exams for people that have never had an eye exam before and be able to educate on eye health would be also a life-changing experience I hope to, help out with one day. And yeah, I think just to learn right now in school and learn how to be the best optometrist and clinician I can possibly be and give back is, all I can ask and hope for myself.
That's great. Now I'm gonna let you have the final question to me. Do you have a question that you want to ask me?
Yeah, so, a lot of people, they like at conferences and stuff, they ask me, what's your dad's secret? How is he so successful? What is his key for success in optometry? And I know this is kind of a broad question, but if you can narrow it down to a couple of points, what do you think has made you so successful in this profession?
That's interesting. I think it's a constant journey of not being satisfied, of always being hungry, hungry to learn, hungry to be a better person and a better practitioner, hungry to just do the best that you can for that patient. I'll literally do anything that I can do for that patient. I give them my cell phone. I'll say, text me on the weekend, no problem. And a lot of my colleagues wouldn't do that. They're like, are you crazy? Why are you giving people your cell phone? I said, hey, listen, if they really need me, they'll text me, but they understand they won't do that unless they really need to communicate with us. We have some teleoptometry codes, so we can bill for that in BC as well. So that's kind of cool. But it's nice to be able to take care of the patients as much as anything. Yeah, Nyah, I wanted to ask you a little bit about what you're working on right now. What do you envision your work to include after graduation?
Coming up, I will be hosting a webinar in March. The date is March 28th, and it's called the Opportunities and Options for New Optometrists and Optometry Students webinar. And it's ran with Bausch and Lomb, and it's produced by Next Gen OD, which is a community within Eye Care Business Canada. And I think I mentioned I was the digital communications associate for Next Gen OD. So basically, I work on tailoring specific content for young ODs and optometry students, and I do the social media and advertising. So you can check us out on our website. But I'll be co hosting actually the webinar coming up. I'm really excited for that. We're going to be having some young optometrists and also some seasoned professionals, not Trevor, but some other great optometrists come to speak to us and some industry partners as well. And we're going to be having viewing parties at different schools, including NECO. There's going to be an in person presentation at Waterloo and Pacific. So it's kind of going to be a cross country, I guess, continent event. And I'm really excited. This is our second annual event. So that's kind of my next big project. And I also think it's great to say yes to these opportunities as a student because it's always good to improve your public speaking skills. I know this is something that I constantly have to work on, public speaking and speaking confidently, not saying like and so much. So yeah, I'm excited for that opportunity as well. And I'm just really looking forward to going back to Boston and working in clinic. I am moving to a new clinic this next semester in the north end of Boston at a health clinic. And I have an amazing preceptor, and she's helped me become more confident as a clinician. And we always do grand rounds and talk about our cases. And I've just learned so much from being in the clinic. I'm really excited to work on my new skills and continue to perfect the skills that I've learned thus far. And then, yeah, I don't really know exactly what I want to do, if I want to do a residency, if I want to, like exactly what I want to do, but I'm just really going to keep an open mind and look at all my options and utilize all the resources offered to me at NECO and yeah, have a fun time.
That's amazing, Diane. I want to thank you for the time and joining us on Optometry Unleashed. And, on a personal note, I'm just so very proud of you. And I'm also excited for you and through you to see, you embrace all the cool things of optometry. It's so neat to find, your daughter taking up the same profession. You realize you're really privileged to be in this profession because your cool daughter wants to be in it too. So it must be a good gig, right?
Well, I was surprised to figure out you were cool in optometry. Everyone's coming up to me, is like, "Oh, your dad is so cool." I'm like, "Really?" So, I mean, you're doing a good job too, Dad. Keep it up.
Thanks, Nyah. Appreciate that. And I want to thank all of our listeners for joining us on Optometry Unleashed. We're super excited to bring you stories about optometry and the story behind their stories of the people and the personalities that make optometry amazing. And, vision and eye care are so important. And here at Optometry Unleashed, we're going to bring you the latest, greatest, some amazing personalities, and appreciate you joining us on our podcast. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us on Optometry Unleashed. If you like the show or find the content we provide valuable, please hit the follow button on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It's a great way to support our work at zero cost to you. You can also leave us a review of up to 5 stars on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you have any questions for me, comments about the podcast, or guests you would like us to consider, please leave us a comment on Spotify or Apple Podcasts with your feedback. Our team reviews all the comments we receive on the show to guide us in providing better content for our listeners. And thank you again to Hoya Vision Canada for being a proud sponsor of our podcast.